Can you beat The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom by only using a shield? And I don't mean fusing a shield to the Master Sword and whacking away at enemies. The rules are simple. Any damage you do to an enemy has to be with a shield. You can pick up any weapon or bow to use it to activate certain abilities, but all damage that Link does to enemies has to be with a shield. Using weapons to a shield works. A shield to a weapon does not. As long as Link only attacks with the parry motion of the shield, which is basically the strongest backhand Hyrule has ever seen, you're good. So I start up a new save file and... these don't count. Moving on. So things take a bad turn underneath Hyrule Castle, but at least Rauru didn't place his faith in us. Oh my goodness gracious. Link wakes up on the Great Sky Island and picks up the Decayed Master Sword and oh, wait a second, that didn't do damage. We chillin', also it doesn't count. So I beeline towards the Temple of Time, meet the goat himself, and get to the Ultra Hand Shrine before doing the typical Frederick percent speedrun route before grabbing a shield and heading to the Fuse Shrine, where I get the most important ability in this run. Fuse. I would have never expected that. And if you were wondering how I would break these easily avoidable pillars, the answer would be to fuse a boulder to my shield. Dunzo. The rest of the Great Sky Island goes as planned, and now I got some pretty good shields to attack with now. So after the goat himself says his goodbyes, it's time to head to the Kingdom of Hyrule. Yeah, give me a moment. That's hilarious. That is so funny. That's so good. That's a C-Dot moment right there. After landing at Lookout Landing, doing the funny Hyrule Castle shenanigans, we head back and talk to Purah, who sets up the first Skyview Tower, and we get the paraglider. Now we can game. The first thing one would consider when doing a shield-only playthrough of Tears of the Kingdom would probably be what shield you are going to be using. I need one with high durability because when parrying, the durability drains faster than my Wii Remote batteries playing Skyward Sword. So I head back to Hyrule Castle to get the Hylian Shield. Just have to avoid the hands because that is just death. Nice. With the Hylian Shield in my possession, I start heading over to the Elden region to do our first regional phenomena quest as well as duplicate that shield. Now you may be asking, Z.com, why are you going to the Elden region first when the Hebrew region is the easiest one, and how are you duplicating items? Well, my dear loyal viewer, subscribe. There is an answer for both of your questions. I'm not going to the Hebrew region specifically because of the boss of the Wind Temple, Colgera. In Tears of the Kingdom, every time you defeat a boss, the general difficulty of the game increases. So the bosses at the end of temples will get more health. So in order to not struggle immensely on the fourth boss, I'm saving it for Colgera because you damage them in chunks, which saves me a headache and you the watch time. Now the other reason I'm going to the Elden region is to duplicate my shield. By heading over to the Bedrock Bistro while doing the shrine there, I can go to the Rock Octoroks and have them suck up a shield. Then I activate Recall at just the right time and the Octorok will still be munching on a shield that doesn't exist, then spit out a perfectly repaired new Hylian Shield. There you go, we got two of them. And they have durability. And it even has durability up. Wacky! Now that I have 4 Hylian Shields, it is time to start the Elden Regional Phenomena quest. Because as we all know, the best offense is a good offense. But instead of going to the Elden region, I take a slight right turn and start heading into the Akala region. Why? To get the Fierce Deity set and struggle a ton at this one shrine because I don't, yes. I nabbed the tunic at the Akala Citadel, decided it's a good idea to fight the Lionel. It wasn't. I go to Skull Lake and forget how physics work to get the mask, and to get the pants I scuttle on over to the old tree stump, and on the way I spot Parallel Universe Groose, titled Goose, and now with the Fierce Deity set, I deal 50% more damage. Now you may be asking, why didn't I get the Phantom Armor which has a lot more defense? Because I have a sense of fashion. I do not want to run around looking like a clunky lad, so if that means I have to game a bit more, then so be it. Because now it is time to start the Goron City questline. For streaming or playing offline, what happened there? But not before getting some heat-resistant gear because I would get owned if not. And now it is on to the Unoble fight. Which I had absolutely no worries going into until I completely missed. Now I have to actually time my attacks. What an absurd concept. But that fight gets cleared very easily. Now I use the minecarts to get all the way to the top of Death Mountain, and now it is time for the Moragia fight. That's true. Oh. Now you may be saying, wait, hold up, is he using Unoble's ability to do damage? And the answer would be yes. Now does this invalidate the entire run? Nah, I just want to do the Fire Temple again. This dungeon straight up flames in more ways than one. I could always beat up the boss underneath Hyrule Castle, but that isn't cool. So now it is time to do the Fire Temple. And absolutely nothing changes from a regular run of this game, but it is wacky finding out different ways to deal with the enemies. And now it is time for the Marbled Goma fight, and it sure does take an extremely long time when all you can do is backhand the boss. Then a bit later, yada yada yahahaha, Demon King Secret Stone, and the first regional phenomena quest is done. Because I'm doing the Hebrew region region last, I head on over to Zora's Domain. I'm sure that this will be a pleasant experience. And it starts off with a fight with the Sludge Light. I knew I would be able to get the water off with a hydrant, but I was way more worried that my shield would run out of durability before I can defeat it. But thankfully, patience is key as it shows its weak point after a while. After that, I have to use a bow and arrow to further the quest, but it's fine. I passed through the waterworks easily, and now it is time to skip the entirety of the build up to the water temple because that's cool. You gotta love rockets in low gravity areas, oh boy. Yes! Yes! We have technology! Yes! It's loading! That's awesome. But now it is time for the water temple proper, but not before I get that Captain 3 construct horn to get a 25 damage shield. You love to see it. The water temple puzzles are a bit of a hassle, but as long as I time my throws just right, I can clear all of them with ease. Oh, but C.com, you need to use a sword for Sidon's ability. And to that I say I didn't cause any damage. And I also do not care, that as well. Moving onwards to the Mukta fight, which is a big yikes. First step is to get this guy with the Hydrant Shield, then start whacking away at the Octorok, but with the boys. Fun fact, did you know you can parry the beam Mukta shoots? Well, now you know. And just like that, Mukta is down. That was surprisingly easier than expected. Gonna get a yahaha, dear lord. Secret Stone, Demon King, except Sidon is the only person who doesn't say that in the cutscene. And now it is time to go to the Gerudo Desert. Here we go. But I go to defeat the Lionel in the Akala region first. I need that multi-shot bow. It is a surprise tool that I'll save for later. Heading into Gerudo Town, and this is probably the most straightforward quest line in the game, except I accidentally use a lightning strike to kill one Gibdo. Oh no, it's the end of the world. Run is over, lads. Wrap it up, wrap it up. Approaching the Lightning Temple now, but more importantly, the first Queen Gibdo fight, which is not a very enjoyable experience. For this fight, the plan is simple. Use the cannon on my shield to hit the boss, then keep blasting while whacking away at the ankles. Don't blow me up. It's gonna blow me up, oh my god. Rinse and repeat until the boss falls. It totally didn't take 1 whole hour to do this. But now it is time for the Lightning Temple proper, which is not only the best temple in the game, but quite an easy time. And I also realized that I can get rid of the Gibdo hives with a cannon, and that these flames make it impossible to go further. Some classic Zelda mirror and light puzzles later, and now it's the rematch of the century, and I have never been more stressed in a video game in my life. The fight begins just like the first encounter, but now the boss is in an enclosed space, so I can actually catch up to it, which is great. For the second phase of the fight, oh my goodness. I had to pause multiple times just to wipe my hands because I was sweating both in the game and in real life. Now the Gibdo hives appear, and I use the cannon to take out the hives without much difficulty, except trying to aim the cannon at said hives because walking backwards slowly isn't the first thing that comes to mind when I think of aiming. Also, the Pikmin 4 demo downloaded. This is such a big one. Fast forward 20-ish minutes and all of my healing food later, and Queen Gibdo has been defeated. I don't want to do that ever again. Now we go through the typical motions. Demon King, Secret Stone, and now it is time to go to the Hiva region, but not before heading by Lindor's Brow and defeating 2 Lionels and getting some surprise tools that we'll save for later. Now for this quest, the most difficult part isn't anything seen in the temple, but the singular arrow Kuda at the very start of the quest. But it turns out I can just use the cannon and solve the issue with ease. It took me a few minutes, surprisingly, to figure that out. Good job, man. But the ascent towards the Wind Temple has no enemies in it, but I must say this part of the game is so cool. I remember playing this the day the game came out, and it was just a collective shock and awe from everyone watching. Goodness gracious, this really is a Tears of the Kingdom. With that said, I'm starting to gain mastery over shield and combat, is what I would like to say at this point, but sadly that is still a no. Yeah, I should have really made some food. After completing the Rising Island chain, I head over to the Wind Temple, and oh my goodness, here we go! This is good. The temple itself isn't too difficult, but man, this entire place is just such a vibe. The boss of the Storm Wind Arc is an even bigger vibe. Polgara, oh boy, oh man, here we go. Now you might be asking yourself, C.com, aren't you supposed to use a bow to damage this land? And my answer to that is no. You can just ram through the ice weak points. And to damage it with a shield, just simply shield surf on them. Now that won't stop me from jamming out so much to the boss theme, so much so that I die quite a few times. Oh, just don't get hit, simple, right, simple. but I shield surf on Colgera enough eventually. But oh my lord, the music goes crazy. So Demon King, Secret Stone, we're out of here. Now, usually in the game, this is when you decide to go to Hyrule Castle to fight Phantom Ganon, but I'm feeling awfully rebellious with the whole only using shield thing, so it's time to go to the Thunderhead Isles in the Faron region. Open the 10 heart requirement door and pick up Mineru's mask to take right through Tobio's hollow chasm. Oh boy, I wonder if I will use that chasm in any way, shape, or form. Oh boy, I do love the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom version 1.1.2 for the Nintendo Switch family of systems, because that means I can duplicate. I nabbed the big hardy radish from the Dragonhead Isles, as well as some Sundalines to prepare for the final fight, as well as just regular fighting, because I will probably get hit a lot, probably. I also decide to duplicate some ancient blades, just in case I need to send any monster to the Shadow Realm instantly. But now it is time for the Construct Factory. A personal highlight of mine is that the dungeons in this game are such a big step up from Breath of the Wild, but I'm really glad the dev team decided to keep what made Breath of the Wild's puzzles so unique in this game as well. Who needs a singular intended solution when Ultra Hand exists? But now that Mineru's Construct body is complete, it is time to fight the Seized Construct. Now yet again, you may be saying, C.com, don't you have to damage the Seized Construct with Mineru's Construct? And to that I say yes. Yes, you do. I could easily do this fight in the depths under Hyrule Castle, but that isn't funny. You know what is funny? Attaching 2 Hylian shields to Mineru's hands and fighting the Construct that way. Now for the fight, which is so good, man, do I love me some Punch-Out. What a classic. Also, why didn't Ganondorf just take control of the Constructs, or is that more of a Calamity Ganon thing? Oh! Come on! No! Anyways, I parry the Construct to death. Big win. No Demon King, no Secret Stone. Time to mosey on over to Hyrule Castle. I get there and oh man, Zelda isn't among us. Oh my goodness me, I never saw this coming. So now it is time to get jump scared by a bunch of enemies. Me and the boys fight all the way up to the Sanctum. And here we go, time for the Phantom Ganon fight. The plan is simple yet again. Defeat one Phantom, then fuse the Gloom Sword to my shield for max damage. It breaks, fuse another, and repeat. Now, there is a few hits that I have to take, but thankfully I got lots of healing fruit from duplicating all those radishes. If you didn't know, one hearty ingredient into a cooking pot will always result in a meal that fully recovers your hearts. Now that Phantom Ganon is down, it is time to find the 5th sage. Oh, wait a minute. It is time to fight the final boss. Now, of course, there is a bigger question at hand. How do I get to the final boss? Once all of the meals have been prepared and my sanity levels are stable, I go to Hyrule Castle and Geronimo down to the Lionel. Side note, holy moly, that was the most precise paragliding I've ever done. Now I can either fight this Lionel to get the drops and fuse items, or run away and save on healing items. The second option is the easier way and safer way, but Hylia didn't raise no coward, so I go to fight the Lionel, and just like my favorite platypus from the mid-2000s, I parried quite a bunch. And although it cost me a few healing items, is what I would say if I was a liar, because this Lionel went down without any damage taken. Totally. Now that the Lionel is defeated, I get my hands on the lovely Lionel items, and I accidentally destroy one while reading chat. Thank you, Lionel Bladehorn. You will be missed. I goofed real quick. Anyway, light work, no reaction. I fly up to the likes, and I must say I do not like the likes very much. I hate it when the likes shoot ice at me, although the likes must really like that. Now it is time for the final stretch. The power of a sage cannot reach me, so now I am fearing for my life. I ascend past the Gloom Hands because I am not doing all that, and that brings me to the Forgotten Foundation. As I scuttle past every enemy and as I take the big jump, I remember the good old days where I used to take Frederick to the final boss. And then he did a kickflip. Now it is time for war in the depths of Hyrule, and I do not want to deal with the boss Bokoblin, so he gets a ticket straight to the Shadow Realm. A few more whacks and all the Bokoblins are gone. Crabray, Lizalfos, Gyptos, and Moblins all go down the same lane. And with that done, the sages go to fight the bosses, and I have to 1v1 Ganon. No items, box only, final destination. Link goes to reach for the non-existent Master Sword on his back. I guess he won't be needing that. Let's go. And I die, but that was for research purposes. I wanted to check just how much health Ganondorf does in one hit so I can optimize my healing, because I will need that. And the answer is pretty simple. I get owned for 5 hearts worth of damage every time I get hit. With that in mind, I start my first attempt against Demon King Ganondorf. Now, the first phase of this fight has 3 potential states, and that is dependent on what weapon Ganondorf is holding. If it is a sword, I can parry almost all of the time. I just gotta watch out for the spin move. If Ganondorf hits a spear, then I can parry the dash attack and the follow-up, but I can't get in for an attack unless I start schmoving around the Giga Chad in order to bait out his poke attack so I can get a hit in. If Ganondorf has a club, then hoo boy, I am in danger, but also not at the same time. It's a weird feeling. After a while in the fight, I learned how to effectively parry all of these moves though. Totally. But man, the spear attacks were giving me anxiety, especially with the knowledge that if I screw up too many times, my shield would break and the fight would become a lot longer and a lot more difficult. Thankfully, Gerald the shield had durability up plus thanks to the Octorok duplication earlier, so I wasn't too worried about it breaking, but there was a thing that I was in fact worried about. Gotcha! Oh, game! And that is everything past the first phase. I'm talking about you comically large health bar, you. The worrisome part is that I had to deal with 5 Phantom Ganons while waiting for the sages to arrive. So I just stayed locked in on Ganondorf, did the cha-cha slide whenever the spear was in play, and after many failed attempts, I got the timing for the attack when Ganondorf thinks it's a good idea to flurry rush you. Food is running low, but my spirits are high because for the most part I am gaming. Keyword most. But after his big boy health bar reaches half, it is time to run back the 1v1. And now this phase is pretty similar to the first with a few major changes. First, there are new gloom attacks, which if I had the Master Sword, I would be able to deflect, but that would defeat the entire point of this video. Ganondorf now flurry rushes way more often, so in order to attack and attack with a shield attack, I need to parry the attack, and then parry my just flurry rush attack, then attack. Also, editing this video, it is so funny to see the absolute laser focus I have in this fight. Oh my goodness. If I get down to 2 hearts, I recover my gloomed health and then fully heal, and that gives me 3 total hits to work with. Slowly but surely, after 15 minutes of pure gaming, I win the 1v1. Yes! Oh my god. Oh. We're not done yet. And Ganon gets so mad about it, he uses action replay to turn himself into a dragon, so it's time to take him down. Alright! Oh wait, hold up, I have to grab the Master Sword, be right back. Alright, now it is time to fight the Demon Dragon. Alrighty! And this fight goes how it normally would, except it takes a whole lot longer. But give Gerald the shield a break, he's trying his best. Once we take care of all 4 of Ganon's pimples, now it is time for the Secret Stone. 18, 17, 16, 15, 3, 2... Is this the last hit? It's actually 20. Wow. Wow! Okay, Ganon. Woohoo! Oh, Ganon don't know what's about to hit him. Oh, never mind. Yeah! Oh, there we go. And well, it wouldn't be a C.com stream if I didn't style on the enemy, now would it? And now you might be saying, oh, C.com, don't you have to use the Master Sword for the final hit? Button police, it doesn't do any damage. We are chilling. I did a kickflip on the final boss. Yeah! Subscribe.